I'm coming to you privately. Our speaker this morning, and I'm not sure what Dave is going to do, is our resident artist, Dave Shaw. I spent 65 years working on national defense, so I think it's appropriate for me to talk about that subject. Congress passed a bill in 2009 called the Weapons System Acquisition Reform Act of 2009. It is backed up by 120 committee reports that have taken place over the period from World War II. In other words, this problem about procuring weapon systems or radios or tanks or what have you has been going on not just since World War II. They had the same problem in the Revolutionary War. They had the same problem by far with the Civil War. Why is this? Well, Eisenhower had an answer. He said it's the military-industrial complex. As usual, Eisenhower was only half right, because it is a military, industrial, congressional, taxpayer union. They're all involved. And Congress is as bad as anyone else when it comes to this acquisition process. Why is it that we don't seem to learn how to do it better? Why is it that we have overruns all the time? Well, I'll try to give you a little insight as to why this happens and why, frankly, I feel this latest legislation, if anything, will help perpetuate the problem because it's endemic to the size of the problem. What do I mean by that? We start off with a requirements process. Each service has a planning group that decides what they need to do to fight the next war. But the guys who make the decision as to what the real requirements will be usually are the generation that's fought the last war. And they tend to see what's needed next is some more of what they have. For example, General LeMay, who constructed the strategic force of airplanes, B-52s that would bomb the hell out of Russia if they were bad boys, he insisted that the next airplane was going to have to be a Super B-52. Well, fortunately, he retired, and they were able to come up with a much better concept. The basic problem, though, is when you're in the defense business, you're writing requirements. The customer really isn't the United States. The customer is the potential enemy. And the potential enemy seldom tells you what he plans to do. And he certainly doesn't tell you what the details are of how he's going to execute it. So you start right off with a kind of a fuzzy feeling as to what you really should build. So what do? You say, I'm going to build another fighter that's going to be faster than the last one. That's pretty obvious. Well, maybe not. But you do the best that you do. What does the intelligence community bring to this process? Well, we have these overseas satellites. And unfortunately, those satellites don't tell you what's inside the brains of the planners in our potential enemy, be it Al-Qaeda or what have you. And so it's a kind of a guessing game. You do the best that you can. And you hope that if you didn't guess quite right, you have the flexibility in what you design to do something to change it. And consider, too, we procure something in defense. And something like the B-52, well, you probably heard the B-52s are older than the crews flying them. So when you spend billions developing a new airplane like a B-52, you do it with the knowledge that, like as not, you're going to be keeping it for 20 or 30 years, and you design again for growth. Consider, too, in defense, you use the most advanced technology that there is. For decades, the defense industry and their customer have used products before they're proven. As a matter of fact, a study that was made once by a chief scientist in the Department of Defense was that 30% of the developments necessary to make a new system work occurred only after the contract was awarded. We have so many generations of solid-state development during the development of, let's say, a new defense system, that the technology keeps changing. It keeps changing. RCA designed the Aegis shipboard defense system. From the time we started development to the time it was put on the cruisers, we went through at least 2 cycles of solid-state devices that we should put in. What do you do when you build the next one and that solid-state device is no longer built by the industry? Why? They don't want to build it. They've got better stuff. They've got better stuff. The government tried to restart some of the old solid-state production lines, and somehow or other, a problem called the purple plague. Every time we restarted a line, we found all kinds of problems, and so the other alternative was, we'll use the better microprocessors. That should be better. Usually, it was an aggravation. Usually, it was too good for the rest of the system, and the thing just didn't gel together in a new system. So it is not an easy problem. Now, costing. When a company is in the business, they want to win new projects. And they know the formula on how to win. You have to have the best design. You have to have the lowest cost. You have to include companies in the states that have the senators that are in the right defense-oriented committees in Congress and in the Senate. If you have all of those ingredients, I guarantee you're going to win. If you lack one of these, especially if you don't have the senators to help you, you're not going to win even if you have the best design. I remember one case, it was an airplane called the F-102. The best design that met the spec was by North American Aviation, the guys who made F-86. The award went to Convair, who had a factory in Texas, of all places. Their design did not meet the spec, yet they got the contract. I wonder why. LBJ, of course, came from there. Thank God, NACA had a scientist who came up with a new aerodynamic theory, it was called the Kopach fuselage, and Convair was able to use it, and they met the spec with that redesign. The B-47, the first jet bomber, Boeing won the contract with a turboprop design. Beat out the competition. They got